it looks as though there are two teams who can go to the finals from the East, the Knicks and the Cavs. That's what it looks like. That's part of why this Giannis thing is kind of interesting with Milwaukee. Like, yeah, they've made their changes, whatever, but how could you look at the rest of this conference and say that Milwaukee isn't a couple of bounces away from a deep playoff run, right? Like, anything can happen right now, it feels like, in the Zombie East, but you're going to be front and center with the Knicks. You're going to be spending your time with what I think I feel like this is as interesting a story as we've had in the NBA truly in years, because it's one thing when the Knicks are good. It's another thing when Knicks fans come to have expectations. And I think that they had tamped their expectations down for a long time, doing their best to be reasonable and appreciative since they had been sorry for so long. But tell Knicks fans why they should not think this team can make the NBA Finals, and you can't. There's no plausible argument for it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things like as if you've been flying Spirit Airlines for about 20 years, and then you get a taste of that new life, and then you get a taste of that first class life. You ain't even trying to go back to Delta Comfort. You trying to stretch your legs out. You know what I mean? You trying to engage in that. Yes, I would like a glass of red wine before we take off. Like, that is where the Knicks fans are. And the fascinating thing for me, Bo, is this is the first year in a very long time that the Knicks can disappoint people. Everything else has been about hope and maybe some bounces going right? Like even 1999, that was about bounces going right. Like, and I wrote about it in one of those preview blurbs that we're doing. This is the first time since 1993, since Michael Jordan said, "I'm done with this," that the Knicks fans can say, "Oh, we expect to be playing in June." Like, it's been 30 freaking years. And on top of that, and this makes things even more complicated, I would say, for Knicks players. The first 3-game losing streak, you're going to have everybody working the trade machine saying, okay, now what permutation can we get to get Giannis here? Now, does that mean Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby and picks? Or does that mean Karl Towns? And you're going to have everybody studying tax aprons and second aprons and becoming a capologist. The first 3-game losing streak, or you just lose 3 out of 5 games in November. Like, that's the level of expectation. It's not going to be, let's hurry up and get to June, right? Because that's a lot of the time, that's where Boston is, or that's where Boston was last year, is let's hurry up and get to June. That's where Denver was a couple of years ago. Let's hurry up and get to June, and they didn't get there. For the Knicks, it's going to be worldwide panic. The first time Mike Brown does something that Tom Thibodeau wouldn't have done. It's going to be worldwide panic the first time Jalen Brunson dribbles the ball into dust a little too long. It's going to be worldwide panic the first time Karl Towns gets 3 fouls in the first quarter because he wants to play the bongos. It's going to be panic. And I don't know if people are built for the panic.
Well, here's the other part of that. Because all those things you describe in some form or fashion are probably going to happen. Because one thing that's also happening with all these guys, Towns is in year 2 being with the team. I guess this is year 4 for Brunson being with the team. And look, I can't explain to you how popular Jalen Brunson is in New York City. Like just so people listen, it's not, he's that guy. But at the same time, he is not, and he is an imperfect player. He is a flawed player. And in ways where at some point exceeding expectation wears off, because that is what had happened. He had exceeded expectation. The team exceeded expectation. Now there's more expectation. And now they're going to look at you just a little bit differently. I mean, it happened to LeBron James, right? Like, this can happen to anybody. Karl Anthony Towns in year 2, some of those imperfections that we've known about, they'll be closer to the surface. And then the places where those two guys' imperfections are the same, their two best players don't guard people, right? This is a very savvy crowd in New York City, right? Like, this fan base is, they understand process, right? You're not going to get over on them simply with results. They understand process. And there's a whole generation of people who are too young to have ever seen Knicks fans really at it, because they haven't even gotten to what makes it funny to us, which is how little it used to take to be like, I don't know. What do you think? Can we get a championship? What do you think? What do you think? And you got a little bit of it last year, and it felt a little bit silly, a tiny bit silly. But a team whose second best player was what? Miles Turner. Had a real chance at winning a championship last year, right? So how can you tell them that they don't have a chance to win a championship? Which means we should win a championship. When it's your team, you don't just say chance. The chance becomes should. And I think in Cleveland, they're probably feeling the same way, but this is going to be louder because it's New York.
No, I differ with you a little bit. I think for Cleveland, they got to get to the finals. I think for the Knicks, for some weird reason, and maybe it's just because they saw the Pacers, whose second best player was Pascal Siakam and Miles Turner.
I forgot about Siakam, my bad.
Yeah, we got to win it. Like, the thing is, you saw if you consider the Pacers to be a flawed team or not a traditional looking contender, take the Oklahoma City Thunder to within 24 minutes of a ring. Because remember, the Pacers led that game 7 at the half, even though we all knew what was coming after that. The expectation is going to be, if you get to the finals, you're going to win. Like, it's not like, as great as Oklahoma City is, and me and you have been on this, and you have been there longer than I have, I don't know if Oklahoma City has reached the point of, if they're going against the New York Knicks, where Knicks fans are going to look at them with the respect of, oh, they're the defending champion, they're a machine, we can't beat them. I don't think Knicks fans operate with that level of clear-headedness and rationale. Like, I'll tell you a quick story. I think it was 2 years ago, a group of friends and I went to New York for a friend of mine's 40th birthday. So we just all flew in, mobbed out for a couple days. And we like, okay, let's get tickets to a Knicks game. And we happened to come up on something. It was a Tuesday night in December, Bo, against the Toronto Raptors. And there was a possession in the second quarter where everybody in Madison Square Garden was on their feet. It wasn't a big possession. It wasn't nobody on no hot streak. It was just a second quarter. Like 8 minutes left, and they got on their feet, and we met up at halftime, and it was like, yo, these people are crazy. Like, they're into it in a different way. And we're talking about basketball fans from Detroit who know what serious basketball looks like. And they're like, no, these people are different here. So now that you have the red carpet laid out, right? And you got this new coach, and you've got continuity, and you feel like you have the cheat code over the Cleveland Cavaliers because you feel like you're bigger, stronger, tougher than them, which is what Knicks fans think about every single team that they've ever had that's been worth a damn. There's not just the expectation that they're going to get to the finals. There feels like there's this demand to win. Because do you feel like, because you're there and I'm not, and once I get there, I get a better feel for it. Do you feel like Knicks fans will be happy at the end of this if by June 15th they lose in 5 games in the NBA Finals, whether it's to Oklahoma City or Denver or Houston, or will there be like, oh man, we blew it?
Now, I think the finals will go a long way. Like, I do not believe that if the Knicks make it to the finals, that New York City's going to be like, all right, that's a start. No, man, they're going to be in these streets. They're going to be thrilled if they make it to the finals. I think exceeding what it was last year, I was surprised how many people thought that they should have been better last year. But any explanation that you heard, honestly, made perfect sense. The decision to move on from Tibbs, I think, is, I mean, how often has Jim Dolan had the bright idea? Because this is a Jim Dolan idea, right? And so do you trust him? But I want to go to Cleveland since we've mentioned them, and I think they matter a lot in the course of this discussion. The Cavs and the Knicks have the same thing. Their dude that has the ball is not tall, right? Now, who would you rather have? Ooh. Donovan Mitchell or Jalen Brunson?
I think with the accolades or what the playoff bona fides have been, right? Jalen Brunson's playoff bona fides have exceeded Donovan Mitchell's, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question because obviously before Jalen Brunson got there, Knicks fans wanted Donovan Mitchell specifically. But I think you could go either way, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think you're in a very similar space with those guys. What the Cavs have that makes them so interesting is where are we in the ascent of Evan Mobley, who is an incredible talent and an incredible player and just not that heavy, not that strong. He's not going to anchor you inside, but he can do a range of things that somebody his size rarely can do. But it's part of why they still feel like they are a guy short because he is great, but I still don't think we think he's that guy. And I don't know if that guy is in the cards for him. Is he a guy that's a high-end second best player on a championship team? Or is he going to become a guy that could be that dude? Or is Donovan Mitchell good enough at what he does to allow Mobley to simply be who he is?
It's funny. It's 2 points that I think I want to make, and I'm curious on the second one. But for the first one, if Evan Mobley controls the game defensively, does defense still matter enough to you where really great defensive player, focal point-ish on offense equals dominant player, best player on a championship team? Right. You know, like does that one side of the floor mean as much as it did 20 years ago, or has the axis tilt so much that defense accounts for maybe 30% of a
I think
profile?
you're asking on that is the description that you gave sounded very similar to Kevin Garnett 08 type of situation. Anchor of defense, guy through whom you could run offense, but you have Paul Pierce and Ray Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Do the Cavs have a combination of two that give you that? Keeping in mind, Paul Pierce is what, 6'7", 6'8"?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I say that to say, I think we're at this weird sort of inflection point with the league where you have great players like Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson, who you're not sure can be the best player on the championship team. And they're, I won't say young, but they're young-ish, right? Like they're not on the older side like a LeBron, a Steph, a Kevin Durant, players that we don't think can be the best player on a championship team, even though they have been, right? So you got the younger side, you got the older side, and even a player like Giannis, where if Giannis decides to make a move, I feel like he has to go to a situation where all of the weight is not on him to be the best player for 36 minutes a night on both ends of the floor. I just don't think his body can hold up that way. So similarly, whether it's Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, the question becomes, it's not necessarily one, it's can you do it for a stretch of time? And is there someone else playing alongside you that can do it for a stretch of time? The only person that we really don't have to ask that question about, I guess there's two, is Jokic and Shea. But everybody else, it's going to be there's questions.
Yeah, but look, this is an era of you can do a lot with an imperfect team. Oklahoma City's still an imperfect team because our question was, are they sturdy enough? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they, they were a little bit thin. I think Hartenstein helped a lot, but we saw the craziness that Daigneault was doing, pulling him in and out of starting lineups during the finals, right? So even they weren't sure that what he was providing was enough. But what's good about them is great, and they have a top 3 player in the NBA, right? Okay, cool. But that team, there's no way in the world that 15 years ago, that Pacers team is a team that goes to the NBA Finals.
No.
It doesn't. We would have had a number of reasons that we could have ticked off why that team can't go to the finals, right? What they don't have, or so forth and so on. That's not how it works anymore, man. Like you're going to tick off those things about teams, and then there's a good chance they're going to get there because you can't build that. The highest end of team is really, really hard to build. Presti seems to be the only guy that's figured it out.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it remains to be seen what Houston does, right? Because Houston is kind of one of those teams that is legit sort of coming, and they still got draft capital, and they got so many young players that you're trying to figure out where they sit. My thing with Indiana last year was they beat every team that they beat had NBA Finals expectations. Like once you played Milwaukee, they had Finals expectations with a healthy Damian Lillard. You played the Cavs, they had Finals expectations. By the time the Knicks got to the Eastern Conference Finals, they have Finals expectations. So once you beat the Celtics, and you beat the Celtics pretty decisively, Tatum or no Tatum, Knicks fans had the right to feel like, okay, we're going to the finals, right?
Yeah.
And that's in a weird way for them to have beaten everybody that's been in front of them and to have been healthy-ish up until, what was that, game 4 of the finals or whatever it was when Halliburton first got hurt, and then what happened in game 7 happened in game 7. I would have been really fascinated to see what that team came back and looked like this year. Because I still don't know if they would be regular season 60 win, we're running away and hiding from the rest of the conference, as much as they would have been, okay, we're going to win 50, 52 games, and then we're just going to be comfortable playing against anybody in any building for the finals. Almost in a way, in a very weird way. The last team I could think of in that way was probably the Rockets. Like the Hakeem Rockets, except Tyrese ain't no Hakeem. It's just that we have the confidence to go into any building, your building, at any point and steal a game or two.